2 Samuel 19 1-36, through the Bible. Chapter 19. Theme: David is restored to the throne. Joab reproves David. The news of Absalom's death was a real heartbreak to David. He had a tender love for his son, and he was extremely grieved when the boy died. Why? There are several reasons. First of all, I do not think that David was sure about the salvation of Absalom. You will recall that when David's first son by Bathsheba was born, he became very sick, and David fasted and prayed for him. When David heard that the little boy was dead, he arose, bathed, went to the house of God to worship, and then was ready for a good dinner. His servants could not understand his action. He made it very clear to them when he said, "I am going to him someday. He will not return to me, but it will be a great day when I go to him." He knew where the little fellow was. When Absalom died, however, David's heart broke. Why? He was not sure of the young man's salvation. He was not sure where his son was. Frankly, I believe that David felt his son was not saved, and that is why he was so stricken with grief. Also, even though David was a great king, he was a poor father. I am sure David realized this. He never quite succeeded in being the father he should have been, and Absalom was evidence of this failure. David also recognized that trouble had come upon him because of the sin he had committed. God had told him that strife would never depart from his house because of it. That is exactly what happened, and from the time of Absalom's death I believe David was a broken man. I think part of his grief was due to his disappointment. He had really hoped that Absalom would succeed him to the throne. He did not like the idea of Absalom rebelling against him, but he did want him to be the next king. David's grief was such that even Joab was disturbed by it and rebuked David for it. And it was told Joab, "Behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom." And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people, for the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. 2 Samuel 19 1-2. It should have been a great day of victory and a day of rejoicing because the enemy was defeated. For David, however, it was not a victory at all. Instead, it was a time of grief and sorrow beyond expression. And the people gat them by stealth that day into the city, as people being ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. 2 Samuel 19:3. David's army should have been rejoicing because they had won the battle. Instead they left the battlefield after the victory and retreated to Jerusalem as if they had been defeated. Why? Because Absalom was slain and it had broken the heart of David. But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, "O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son." 2 Samuel 19:4. My, how David loved this boy. What a tender expression this is. David had been such a poor father, he had handled things so badly, but he loved his son and was broken by his death. Now Joab was responsible for Absalom's death. I am not sure that David ever really comprehended just how his son died. I am sure that he heard quite a few stories relating how it occurred, but David probably did not want to pursue it too far. And Joab came into the house to the king, and said, "Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons and of thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubines, in that thou lovest thine enemies, and hatest thy friends. For thou hast declared this day, that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive, that if Absalom had lived, and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well." 2 Samuel 19:5-6. Of course Joab is pushing this situation to the opposite extreme, but certainly David would have preferred others dying rather than Absalom, that is quite evident. Joab rebukes David because he is so grieved about the death of his son who had become his enemy and would have killed David given the opportunity. David is restored to the throne. Then the king arose, and sat in the gate. And they told unto all the people, saying, "Behold, the king doth sit in the gate." And all the people came before the king, for Israel had fled every man to his tent. 2 Samuel 19:8. The people needed some rallying point now. Everyone was depressed. It was a bad state of affairs. The man who had led the rebellion had been slain, but, instead of rejoicing, the people witnessed the greatest grief that David ever expressed. However, after Joab talked to the king, David went up to the gate to let his men know that he deeply appreciated their loyalty to him. And all the people were at strife throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, "The king saved us out of the hand of our enemies, and he delivered us out of the hand of the Philistines, and now he is fled out of the land for Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore why speak ye not a word of bringing the king back? 2 Samuel 19:9-10. What happened was simply this: there were those who had gone over to Absalom's side, and now that he was dead, they didn't know what to do. They decided that the best thing was to bring the king back. And King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, saying, Speak unto the elders of Judah, saying, Why are ye the last to bring the king back to his house? Seeing the speech of all Israel is come to the king, even to his house. 2 Samuel 19:11. Apparently, even in the tribe of Judah, there had been a great defection to Absalom's side. Now David rebukes them for their action. Ye are my brethren, ye are my bones and my flesh, wherefore then are ye the last to bring back the king? And say ye to Amasa, Art thou not of my bone, and of my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if thou be not captain of the host before me continually in the room of Joab. And he bowed the heart of all the men of Judah, even as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word unto the king, Return thou, and all thy servants. 2 Samuel 19:12-14. It was a unanimous desire to return David to his throne. So the king returned, and came to Jordan. And Judah came to Gilgal, to go to meet the king, to conduct the king over Jordan. And Shimei the son of Jerah, a Benjamite, which was of Bahurim, hasted and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him, and they went over Jordan before the king. 2 Samuel 19:15-17. Shimei had cursed David when he went out. Now he wants to be the first one to welcome the king back. And there went over a ferry boat to carry over the king's household, and to do what he thought good. And Shimei the son of Jerah fell down before the king, as he was come over Jordan, and said unto the king, Let not my lord impute iniquity unto me, neither do thou remember that which thy servant did perversely the day that my lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take it to his heart. For thy servant doth know that I have sinned, therefore, behold, I am come the first this day of all the house of Joseph to go down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai the son of Zeruiah answered and said, Shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? 2 Samuel 19:18-21. David was a generous fellow. He was a man who could forgive. And David said, What have I to do with you, ye sons of Zeruiah, that ye should this day be adversaries unto me? Shall there any man be put to death this day in Israel? For do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? 2 Samuel 19:22. David is saying, Why should I pay attention to this fellow? I know I am the king of Israel. David is satisfied that God has restored him to this position. Why should I worry about a little fellow like Shimei? Why should I put him to death? What he thinks doesn't amount to anything. There are many Christians today who let little things bother them. They let little people bother them, and they should not. Is God blessing you, my friend? Perhaps you are a discouraged pastor. Are you having trouble with your board of deacons? Are you having problems with a troublemaker? My friend, forget it. You are serving God. God is on your side. Live above that small irritation and serve the Lord, and make sure that is what you are doing. Forget about the other things, we need to live above them. Therefore the king said unto Shimei, Thou shalt not die. And the king sware unto him. 2 Samuel 19:23. David's final decision concerning Shimei was that he did not intend to punish him. In fact, David did not intend to deal with this man in any way. And Mephibosheth the son of Saul came down to meet the king, and had neither dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes, from the day the king departed until the day he came again in peace. 2 Samuel 19:24. Mephibosheth, in deep appreciation to David, would not join in the rebellion. He remained loyal to David, and during all this time he fasted and prayed for the king. It is wonderful to have friends like that, is it not? And it came to pass, when he was come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said unto him, Wherefore wentest not thou with me, Mephibosheth? And he answered, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me, for thy servant said, I will saddle me an ass, that I may ride thereon, and go to the king, because thy servant is lame. And he hath slandered thy servant unto my lord the king. But my lord the king is as an angel of God. Do therefore what is good in thine eyes. For all of my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king, yet didst thou set thy servant among them that did eat at thine own table. What right therefore have I yet to cry any more unto the king? 2 Samuel 19:25-28. Mephibosheth tells David, If you think I have betrayed you, then do to me as you please. I have no right to ask any other favor of you at all. And the king said unto him, Why speakest thou any more of thy matters? I have said, Thou and Ziba divide the land. And Mephibosheth said unto the king, Yea, let him take all, for as much as my lord the king is come again in peace unto his own house. 2 Samuel 19:29-30. This, I feel, proves Mephibosheth's sincerity. And Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim, and went over Jordan with the king, to conduct him over Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old, and he had provided the king of sustenance while he lay at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. 2 Samuel 19:31-32. Barzillai the Gileadite was a patriarch from another nation who had been generous to David and had given him sustenance during the rebellion. Now David wanted this man to go back to Jerusalem with him so he could reward him for his generosity. And the king said unto Barzillai, Come thou over with me, and I will feed thee with me in Jerusalem. And Barzillai said unto the king, How long have I to live, that I should go up with the king unto Jerusalem? 2 Samuel 19:33-34. Barzillai said to David, I have not many more years. I have had my 60 and 10 more. I know my days are numbered, and I would just as soon stay home. I appreciate your generous offer of going and living in a palace, but I have reached the age where things like that do not tempt me at all. I am this day 80 years old, and can I discern between good and evil? Can thy servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore then should thy servant be yet a burden unto my lord the king? 2 Samuel 19:35. Barzillai continues, I am an old man. I can't hear the music anymore. Food does not taste like it once did. I don't want to come and mar the party. I don't want to be the one to slow down the king in his enjoyment. Thy servant will go a little way over Jordan with the king, and why should the king recompense me with such a reward? 2 Samuel 19:36. Barzillai helped David because he knew David was God's man. He had confidence in the king. This was his motivation to assist David. It is too bad that David had not been a little more forgiving with his own son. When Absalom sinned and came back, it might have been different if he had completely forgiven the boy. If he had received him like the father received the prodigal son by putting his arms around him, placing a robe on him, and killing the calf for a feast, I believe David would have spared himself the awful rebellion which took place.